You find me sexy? I find you very sexy.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Maude Massicotte, j'ai 26 ans. Je vis avec la paralysie cérébrale depuis ma naissance. J'habite à Montréal et je suis en appartement depuis 3 ans.
My name's Jen. I'm 25. I'm female. I identify as queer.
I'm Shay. I'm 31. I identify as queer and genderqueer. And I live in Toronto. I've been disabled since birth. Some of my conditions are genetic and hereditary. Most of them have gotten worse over time.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Martin Juneau. J'ai 51 ans. Je vis chez moi seul, dans un appartement où j'ai accès à des services de soutien à domicile. Je suis atteint d'une dystrophie musculaire plutôt rare, dégénérative. Puisque la présence de mon handicap a augmenté avec le temps, autant dire que d'avoir des relations sexuelles maintenant est devenu énormément difficile.
My name is Paul. I'm 49 years young. I have cerebral palsy. I'm heterosexual. And I live with a group of people at a private apartment called Tango here in Montreal.
My name is Joan. I'm 47 years old and currently married. My disability is from birth, so I have spina bifida, and I live in a house with my husband and my dogs and different pets, including chickens.
What makes you feel sexy?
Makeup and getting dressed up and doing my hair and, just basically getting ready for the date.
Well, there's kind of like two different ways of looking at it. And like, there's like ways of like feeling sexy, like during a kink scene, and sexy where you're going out in the world and feeling more confident in who you are and what you're wearing because you feel sexy in it and in your body. And for me, in those two situations, wearing heels applies. And for a while, I couldn't wear heels because I was walking with a cane, and that kind of sucked. But now I don't walk anymore, so I can still wear heels. And that's pretty awesome.
Qu'est-ce que sentir sexy? J'ai jamais vraiment pensé. C'est une question un peu bizarre parce que aussitôt que je suis devant une femme, on dirait que c'est comme un déclic. C'est automatiquement, dans ma nature, je suis un peu charmant.
What makes me feel sexy if my partner would to dress up sexy, and also because it makes me feel like I'm very special to that person, and I hope that I make that person too feel special if I dress up sexy.
What do you look for in a partner, and has having a disability made finding a partner harder?
Pour être honnête, la dernière fois que j'ai eu une partenaire sur une base régulière, j'étais encore capable de marcher. J'avais encore la force dans la moitié de mon corps. Donc, il est encore possible pour moi de contribuer largement à l'expérience. Maintenant, en y réfléchissant comme il faut, je crois premièrement, moi-même, il faut que je me fasse à l'idée que c'est encore possible. Si je me cherche une partenaire qui a un handicap ou non, j'ai jamais été fermé à l'idée de quoi que ce soit. En tout cas, tout ça pour dire que un peu dans ma tête, avoir une relation sexuelle avec un partenaire tient presque de la science-fiction.
Moi, j'ai jamais eu de relation amoureuse depuis. Ça a toujours été comme au primaire, des petites amourettes, rien de plus, là. Mais je te dirais que quand mes tentations de vouloir être avec quelqu'un, un gars, je te dirais c'est toi que le gars il est intéressé, mais c'est pour des mauvaises raisons. Dans ça, c'est comme elle a besoin de moi, fait que je suis là pour l'aider. Mais qu'est-ce qui est trop plate, c'est que c'est pas ça que je cherche. Moi, je cherche une relation égale à égale. Donc, ça m'a parfois un peu déçue par rapport à une perception de la société de dire, ah, ben, les personnes en situation de handicap ont besoin de faire protéger, ont besoin de les chouchouter, on pourrait dire, pour avoir un partenaire, c'est en situation de handicap ou pas. Ben, je dirais que c'est pas quelque chose qui me dérange, mais c'est sûr que je voudrais pas avoir un partenaire qui est beaucoup plus handicapé que moi. Donc, je voudrais pas m'handicaper plus aussi. Donc, non seulement le rôle est la même chose pour moi, je veux pas devenir la mère de la personne.
At one point, my dad told me that, you know, Joan, you kind of have to be careful because maybe some guys will be too shy to say no to you, or they'll say yes just kind of out of pity, basically. And although I wasn't really quite sure what he meant about that, I really did get the idea that, okay, well, I shouldn't take for granted that people would want to date me. And so after that, I just never ever asked anybody out, and no really serious relationships. But then when I did meet my husband, basically we started out as friends and friends with benefits and roommates, and now we are in love with each other, and we chose to be together. But I could say that it really took a long time for us to get to that point, and that really was because of my disability. And on the other issue, well, if I would want to date somebody with a disability, the honest answer is that always it was no, I really didn't want to, for many reasons, but mainly, well, I felt uncomfortable. Like in general, even though I do have a disability, I don't feel comfortable with other people who have disabilities because I'm a little bit shy about asking if what they need or what they want, or I don't want to assume anything. And also, I just couldn't figure out how it would be possible for me that had a disability and now already had certain complications in my life that another person with other complications would add that. It seems like it would be difficult, to be honest, but I would have been uncomfortable with that.
I could still have just as much sex as I was having before my disability became more visible. In terms of making it harder and like why, it's because it takes more energy to engage in building those relationships. So I do a lot of things like disclosing my disability early. Like if I'm on a dating site, for example, a lot of people don't do that. But why would you want to engage with people who aren't okay with your disability? I think more and more, I think I'm explicitly looking for that shared understanding that comes specifically from having a disabled partner, because disabled partners have a much more complex understanding of interdependence, where a non-disabled partner might fall more into a caregiving role, like have a much harder time like navigating where those boundaries fall and like how to go about that in a way that doesn't make the disabled person feel like a burden. And that shared understanding is so important because we spend so much freaking time navigating non-disabled people's ableism and like not knowing how to do or say the right thing around our bodies and around everything that we do. At the end of the day, like, do we really have energy to come home and keep doing that?
I think I realized that none of my long-term partners have ever been non-disabled, and I realized how foundational that was for me in my relationship. I don't know if disability has been the thing for me that's made finding partners difficult. I think that for me, it's more frequently like comes at that like weird intersection of being on the like asexual spectrum, because I feel like it's not easy for me to get to that level of intimacy with another person. And so it sometimes has been like years between long-term relationships because it's taken me that long to find someone who I connect with at that level. And so like but I don't feel like being disabled has been the barrier. Like when I've thought about it, I'm like, I really only put energy into relationships with the disabled people who I know, where there's like that shared code of experience between us.
When I meet somebody for the first time, the question that's always in the back of my mind, will this person be able to accept the fact that I have a disability and, that nature? Because that is always a primary question for myself. But as I said, as I've gotten older, it's becoming less and less.
Do you think your disability has given you anything positive that could make you a better partner or lover?
I really can't see it as really as having anything positive, except maybe for the fact that you don't have a choice. You have to learn to communicate. You have to be able to tell your partner, like, what works or what doesn't work.
C'est un peu difficile à répondre. Il n'y a pas aussi à ça. Ben, je vais expliquer pourquoi. Parce que puisque dans le monde, il y a tellement de pression qui est mise sur l'emphase de la performance et c'est tellement gonflé apparence et dans le paraître que si on s'arrête juste à ça, ben, honnêtement, moi, je suis en bas de l'échelle. Mais parce que les personnes qui ont effectivement des handicaps sont obligées de trouver des manières créatives, des solutions à tous les défis, à tous les jours. Juste le fait d'arriver à une solution fait de moi quelqu'un d'absolument idéal. Ah, puis je suis un homme complètement tendre parce que j'ai pas de force, donc je peux pas baisser.
I would say yes in a simple answer. I'm a better listener now. I'm also more in tune with my body, my body's desires, its capacities. I would say I'm a more creative lover now. Before, my disability was really impacting my body. We saw a really funny sketch comedy where they were showing a wheelchair user and a wheelchair technician trying to figure out all of the different ways to get her chair into different sexual positions, about how it would look to do a kiss and have oral sex and go into a 69. These are things that we actually have to brainstorm because you're in your living room. How do you want to fuck in your living room? Well, you're in your chair in your living room. So, you use your chair. And that involves also knowing certain things about your chair. And so that makes you a lot more creative than what you would have had to do before, which is just like lay back on the couch.
Absolutely being more creative. Wouldn't be able to do half of what I'm able to do if I couldn't think creatively about what are the ways that most people do it, what are the ways that I can do it, what does that look like. That would not have necessarily been who I was. It's taught me how to be in touch with myself, which has been a really long process because when you're in a body that's marked by pain so much of the time, being in touch with your body is a really shitty experience. Because I've lived with chronic pain for so long, I don't frequently notice it until someone asks me to pay attention to it. And so I've had to start to learn how to check in with my body, how to be a little bit more okay with pain. And so it's a process to learn how to be in that body and communicate where that body is and figure out, like, on the days if pain is too bad to be intimate with someone in the way that I want to be, what are other ways that we can be intimate that aren't as bad for the pain?
If it happens that her or myself are having a bad day, I would look at it and say, okay, today wasn't, our best day, but tomorrow will be better. And I just know that having a disability, I've learned from lots of experience about how to take things in stride as they come along.
How have you approached communicating with others about issues related to your disability?
Au niveau de l'orgasme, là, je suis rendu à un point où je suis presque obligé de l'atteindre par moi-même. Donc, la situation m'a forcé ça m'a forcé dans une manière autre de pouvoir l'atteindre. Le fait d'avoir un partenaire ou pas ne changera pas le fait que je vais ou non avoir un orgasme. Maintenant, pour ma partenaire, de pouvoir l'atteindre avec moi, là, il va falloir montrer, il va falloir exercer beaucoup plus de communication avant ou pendant, en tout cas, il va falloir que les discussions soient très ouvertes à ce niveau-là et qu'on soit très à l'aise de dire les choses telles qu'elles sont. Sinon, ça risque de stagner et il risque d'avoir au moins une personne déçue à ce niveau-là. Effectivement.
I think the only real difference is that we probably have an extra challenge that needs that communication. And you sort of have to go progressively and say that works, that doesn't work. And when certain issues do come up, like for me, it was incontinence. And even though you do everything you can to make things go smoothly or whatnot, every now and then a situation arises and you need to readjust. And I think that when your partner gets to know you and you get to a certain level of communication, I mean, if something does happen now, well, it changes the mood, but we just say, okay, we deal with it, and then we either go on or go to sleep and then say, well, next time will be better. That's all.
I don't want to roll up to date number one and find out it's an inaccessible restaurant, because that's not something I even want to have as a question. So that's just a rule for me.
I have to laugh though. Like when you talk about your first date needs to be in an accessible like location, and then I think about our first somewhat date. Jed was here for work, and we really wanted to have a beach date, so we drove up to Sauble Beach, but we couldn't take Jed's chair with us. So
Yeah, I can walk a bit.
Yeah. And I think you just had a cane. And we ended up doing like more walking than I've ever seen Jen do like from that day. And so like
it hurts so bad.
And so I think it's funny too, like that sometimes like we could set these rules, but then with the right person, we become more flexible because we understand that they know our limitations and that they're going to listen when you say stop. We had known each other for a while by that point as well. So like we knew that like each other was aware of the limitations that we had and that they would be respected if we talked about a limitation. So there was more freedom to like push a little bit past beyond what we should be doing. Just as Jen was saying, you know, like I have these rules for how people should be interacting with me if we're going to start a relationship. You have the rules, and then you also throw them out the window if you have the right connection and trust and safety with someone.
I try to explain the physical aspects of it, but I also make it very clear that I don't expect them to look after me, and that this should not be really an issue for them. This is something that I've, lived with since the day I was born, and I don't expect them to be caregivers to me 24/7. I can take care of myself.
How do you feel that your romantic life is different than that of others? And what is one thing you wish people knew about it?
One thing I would love people to know about it is that when you're living with a disability, it's can be more challenging in ways because our limitations you can see from the outside, and sometimes our insecurities and vulnerabilities. People always tend to look at the exterior of the person first, then the interior, because we go by what we see. If I'm able to find somebody that we can go beyond that point together, it makes meeting that special someone that much more wonderful.
Je suis très au courant que ma vie sexuelle est différente. Même elle a toujours été différente que celle de mes amis. Encore plus maintenant, parce que je dois fournir des efforts titanesques pour obtenir un tout petit peu de la satisfaction. Au niveau de l'objectif, c'est le même que les autres, mais c'est juste dans la manière de l'atteindre très différent.
Well, actually, that's the whole thing. Is like really don't think it's all that different from anybody else. We have a sexual life. Maybe some people wonder if we do or not, and yeah, we do. What I wish people knew, I think really I just want them to know that it really is comfortable and a loving relationship, and that's all anybody really needs to know.
Une chose que j'aimerais dire à tout le monde, c'est que peu importe notre orientation sexuelle, qu'on soit handicapé ou pas, qu'on ait des limitations ou pas, on a tout droit à l'amour, on a tout droit à du désir. C'est pas parce que on a quelque chose qu'on n'a pas le droit d'avoir un désir de quelqu'un. C'est pas normal qu'il y ait des gens qui pensent encore qu'on va leur donner une pilule parce que ça va les calmer. Et puis, eux autres, ils n'ont pas le droit d'avoir un désir sexuel ou avoir une relation sexuelle pour quelqu'un qui aimerait Fait que il faut changer la mentalité des choses ici. Il y a un gros travail à faire, puis je trouve qu'au Québec, c'est très tabou encore. On commence à en parler.
People see disabled people and they automatically assume that like everything about our lives is so hard, or that we should be pitied, or that we need help. And I think that the one thing that I really wish people understood about our relationship is how much joy there is in it. It's not this tragic thing that both of us are disabled. Like, it's this amazing, incredible thing. And like, maybe the message is this, that it's okay to keep pushing for relationships that have space for joy in them. Mm-hmm. And that like people don't have to settle for relationships that don't make them fulfilled just because they're disabled. And to realize that like you might have to look really hard for it, but you deserve more. But it is possible to have relationships that are incredibly fulfilling, and that is something that everyone deserves to have in their lives.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Ce que je trouve scandaleux dans tout ça, c'est qu'en tant que personne en situation de handicap, si on est marié, on tombe automatiquement notre conjoint ou notre conjointe devient notre aidant naturel. Au niveau de notre indépendance, ben là, on est indépendant de notre conjoint ou de notre conjointe. De déclarer le conjoint aussi, c'est problématique. Fait qu'on n'a pas de liberté comme telle par rapport à avoir une relation. Souvent, ben, les gens vont vouloir se cacher qu'ils ont une relation parce qu'ils ont peur que, bon, il va m'arriver quoi si je le dis, il va me couper mes services. Quelque chose que je pense aussi qui joue beaucoup dans la balance, c'est qu'il y en a qui font un sacrifice de ne pas avoir de vie amoureuse ou sexuelle parce que, bon, ils ont trop peur.
All that we're looking for is really to be seen truly as your equals. We're just as capable of loving you and understanding you as any other able-bodied person would be. And that is so important in any relationship within any couple.
Some people live in situations where they either live with other people or in a home where it can be a lack of privacy. I think that's a serious issue that does need to be addressed. I think that everybody should have access to some privacy and intimacy.
Just because like a body is different or not ideal doesn't make it undesirable. One of my health conditions leaves me with like a lot of scarring, and frequently like I see a lot of internet memes. It's like, oh, would you fuck someone with this condition, or would you rather smoke meth or do something else really undesirable? Those kinds of things are really hurtful to see, and to know that those are all over the internet, and it's really harmful. Idealized bodies are not real.
The less you act like something's a big deal, the more casually everyone around you is going to treat it. I was really self-conscious about my scars, and I used to get people coming up to me and asking about them in public. But the more that I learned to just like accept that as normal, the more casually other people treated it. And like that carried over into so many things as I became more disabled. Like that's such a foreign thing to me to think about, like how much work people put into avoiding that public disclosure of disability because they're so afraid of how people around them are going to react.
Peu importe ce qui arrive dans la vie, il ne faut jamais perdre espoir. Les choses sont toujours possibles. Il s'agit juste de persister.
I know that there's a lot of people when they might meet us for the first few times might even wonder what it would be like to maybe go on a date with us and see where things progress. But the question in the back of everybody's mind might come up as like, would this person be able to satisfy my emotional and physical needs? Well, my response to that would very simply be, don't knock us till you write us.